before we move on to questions, I'm going to ask the doctor to go again over his main background, because he mentioned previously he teach people language. This is a main training that he earned from Cameroon to the the NYU University.
Yes.
He's going to talk a little bit before we take questions about training, about language, how to start, the basic knowledge about where and how should we start when we want to learn a language.
Okay.
Okay, doctor, you got it.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is my turf. When we talk about language acquisition, I am an expert on language acquisition. I will take my experience that I'm going to share with you as a person, and then my experience as a scholar, okay? So, I was lucky to be born in Cameroon, because Cameroon has 289 languages. 289 languages. And then, because of our colonial heritage, we also have French and English as our official languages. We also have German. We also have Spanish in our general high school programs. And when it comes to learning a language, I have an analogy for that, okay? Let's imagine that you are trying to learn how to swim, to become a swimmer, okay? No matter how good your trainer can be, will you be able to become a swimmer if you cannot jump into the pool? No, that's impossible, right? So that's the same problem when you want to learn any language. The language that I'm speaking right now was not supposed to be my language of instruction, ever. Because in Cameroon, I have French, I can fend up, I can do everything in French without any problem. Now, I went to university. I couldn't speak English, but I was doing linguistics where all my teachers were training us in English. One of them was kind enough and straightforward with me to tell me that, hey, you speak French very well. I don't understand any of it. It would be very unfair for me to fail you when I know that you know everything in French, but you cannot communicate with me. Does that even make sense to take my class in French when you cannot speak English to me? C'était fou, quoi. J'étais dépassé. And what I did was also amazing that people could learn from that. So I came back the next day and told him, okay, I am ready to forget about French, but let's have a bet. I will teach you linguistics after my PhD in English, not in French. I am ready to move to the United States. If you can move, you can help me to do so. He said, that's a deal I'm very proud to take with you. So my second year, he taught me syntax, generated syntax in English, and it was very successful. He gave me books in English. He sent me to the libraries. He recommended me to his colleagues. And I moved from French to English 100% under 1 year without taking any class. Hear me out, okay? I never sat anywhere taking any English class, ever. How did I do that? Okay? Well, as a linguist, I learned from language acquisition that the kids are better than the adult when they are learning a second language. How is it possible for a young child to learn a second language under 3 years when an adult can spend 10 years taking classes in a foreign language without being as successful as a child who is not even struggling? That's a big question in language acquisition, okay? Now, the secret is that if you behave like a child when you're learning in a second language, you will be as successful as a child. How did they do that? Did you ever see any child walking around with a dictionary to learn a second language? Hell no. Did you ever see them with a grammar book? No.
No.
Did you ever see them with a pencil to take note from anybody, any adult? Not at all, right? But do you see them speaking well, better than you? Of course they do. But why are we stuck as adults when we're trying to learn a second language? Well, we get overwhelmed by books. And then we became secretaries without being able to speak the language. Because we will memorize all the formulas of grammar, all the beautiful sentences. But when it comes to speaking, we will be scared to death. Okay? Now, if you want to learn any language, the first thing to do is to forget about your ego. Okay? That's number one. The child will stumble, make a lot of errors, and we're going to fix them. We're going to help them fix any errors that they have in the second language. And they're happy about it. Okay? Now, when you want to speak a language, the first thing that you need to take is an immersive conversation class. You go to a place where people speak only that language, you interact with them, you socialize with them, you go to the kitchen with them, you go to the office with them, you go to the market with them, and you talk to them every single chance you have. Okay? After 3 months, you will be speaking that language without knowing how to write. Every language is spoken, not written. Don't worry about writing. Until you speak, then you can go to school and start learning how to write in that specific language.